Welcome back to Court TV Live. I'm Julie Grant. We have some breaking news to tell you about coming out of Idaho this afternoon. A completed assessment by a doctor has determined that at this time, Lori Vallow Daybell is not competent to stand trial, and restorative treatments are being recommended for her. I'm going to bring in now Court TV legal correspondent Chanley Painter, who's been covering this trial for us from the beginning and has the latest on this breaking news. Chanley.
Yes, this explains a lot about why perhaps her initial appearance on that new 9-count indictment against her and her husband Chad was continued yesterday after an extensive sidebar off the record before that was announced. Now, it makes a lot of sense about why, since around March, we haven't heard a lot about her case activity. And we're just learning through an order today that was posted online in her case. Let's take a look at what it does say. It says that on March 8th of 2021, that's when an order for competency evaluation was signed by a judge. And this was raised after counsel. The issue of competency was raised by counsel. So the judge did stay her case from further proceedings pending the competency evaluation, and the court received that psychological assessment and determined by that assessment that Lori was not competent and needs treatment in the case. That's what the assessment said, recommended restorative treatment. Of course, the prosecution objects to this competency evaluation and requested a hearing. That hearing the date has not yet been set, but we can expect that to be set really soon, where this will be taken up before the judge.
Right. And yesterday we know she appeared in court to face these homicide charges that finally came. It was a bit of an odd hearing, as you pointed out, quickly continued, that lengthy sidebar. Do we know at this juncture if Mark Means is representing her on this second case as well? We know he's represented her from the outset on the other charges filed last year. Yesterday there was a little bit of speculation as to whether or not that appearance had been secured.
Yes, he did indicate yesterday that he will continue to represent Lori Daybell on this new 9-count indictment. He's also continuing to represent her, of course, on her other 2 felony conspiracy to commit destruction of evidence that has been pending for a while, because in that case, just a few days ago, the court declared her indigent as far as funds for her defense, and Mark Means did tell Court TV that he will continue to represent her, and that was just a result of her being incarcerated for more than a year now. It's what happens, it makes sense, and now she's asking the state for funds for her defense.
Sure, no, absolutely. And then I know the judge said they would continue that initial arraignment hearing that we saw yesterday to another date. Any word on what's going to happen now with that hearing because of this incompetency declaration?
Well, they're going to have a hearing on this competency issue. That has not yet been set. So everything else is on hold until they can address this assessment just filed before the court and can take it up, and they can also hear the prosecutor's objection to the stay in the proceeding. And of course, this assessment, I'm sure that she'll also be assessed by someone the prosecution wants her to be assessed by. But here, this is an issue in Idaho that you take up before a trial even starts, competency issue. If she is determined and the judge determines that she is incompetent, then she would remain in treatment. Her trial would be suspended almost indefinitely until through repeated restorative treatments, she becomes at some point possibly competent in the future, and then would stand trial. So it's a little bit different in the state of Idaho because they don't have a plea for insanity there. So the process is underway now, though, for delaying everything until the judge determines this one issue.
Well, that's really interesting that there's no insanity plea on the record. I remember us talking about that during the pandemic when we were focused so heavily on all of the developments with this, but I'm glad you mentioned that, Chanley, because that's a really good reminder as to what's allowable in the state of Idaho, where these prosecutions are going to take place and what way the defense must go. And competency, we know it's a very low threshold. I can't impress upon this enough. I impress upon our viewers this enough that it's a very, very low threshold, and she can be evaluated again and again and again. basically has to just understand the nature of the proceedings, understand the charges against her, and be able to assist her attorney in her defense. So certainly she's going to be reevaluated. I saw in this order that the state's objecting, and so we'll see if on the next evaluation she's competent. But one other thing I want to pick your brain about, please, Chanley, is something else involving Lori Vallow-Daybell. With this breaking news out of Idaho, we also have some other breaking news out of Arizona, too, with her that I know you're aware of. This is with respect to her fourth husband, Charles Vallow, who was shot to death by her brother, Alex Cox. He said it was self-defense, this struggle that he claimed happened in the home. We know Alex Cox is dead, but we also learned that police have submitted a charge to the district attorney's office for review. So Lori Vallow could be charged as well. Would you kind of remind us of those facts, if you would, please? Take us back to that time and how it all relates to then her move to Idaho and then the relationship with Mr. Doomsday, Chad.
Certainly, yeah. This is an investigation in Maricopa County, Arizona, and Chandler, Arizona, that has been ongoing for almost 2 years, because Charles Vallow was shot and killed by Lori's brother, Alex Cox, in July of 2019. So ever since, they've been investigating this death, even though Alex Cox did claim that it was self-defense and that Charles Vallow was coming at him with a baseball bat. That has always been suspicious to authorities, and they've released updates over the last couple of years or so that they continue to investigate Charles Vallow's death, and that Lori Vallow-Daybell has always been a person of interest or a suspect in that evaluation. In fact, just as recent as last August, I believe it was, they had a big press statement saying they've gone through thousands and thousands of pieces of evidence and subpoenas and digital evidence, still building their case file against Lori Vallow-Daybell. And at that time, they did say they're looking towards this conspiracy to commit murder of her fourth husband, Charles Vallow. Well, several months have gone by. They're just announcing today that they did hand over that extensive investigation case file to the prosecutor's office there in Chandler, Arizona on April 1st. So they've had it for a little bit, several months now, and they're just now saying that we've handed all of it over. We're done with our investigation. Now it's in the prosecution's hands, the prosecutor office, to determine whether or not they're actually going to file this charge against Lori Vallow-Daybell. So we'll just have to wait to hear from the Maricopa County prosecutor.
Right, and the DA's office in Phoenix, Arizona, they're reviewing it now. So essentially the police are saying, DA's office, this is what we're recommending. We're recommending that Lori Vallow-Daybell be charged with first-degree murder, a conspiracy to commit first-degree murder, conspiracy to commit. And that co-conspirator would be Alex Cox, her brother. Couple other things. I know you remember this well, Chanley, when we all watched that video of Lori Vallow after the fact, when she comes back to her home and learns about Charles Vallow, her fourth husband, being killed by her brother. I mean, she couldn't have been more calm and kind of smiling and giggling with police. And that was one thing that stood out to me. I'm sure it did you. And then the other thing that jumped out was, we know Charles Vallow was a really athletic guy. He was a college baseball player. And the allegation from Alex Cox was that, well, he came at me with his baseball bat. I had to shoot him in self-defense. But yet Alex Cox didn't have any marks on him. He claimed that he was hit in the head. He said, oh, I've got a little mark in the back of my head. There was nothing really visible for anyone to see. And you would think a big, strong guy like Charles Vallow would have been able to knock him out. This case, I mean, it stunk to high heaven from the beginning. And finally, all these bad facts seem to be coming to light, and everything seems to be coming together with these defendants.
Yes, exactly. You are correct. And it's a story that we've spoken to the brother-in-law and sister of Charles Vallow, Kay and Larry Woodcock, and they're saying Charles Vallow was a professional baseball player. He knows how to swing a bat, and when he's going to swing it, he's going to cause some harm. Alex Cox would not have been able to fire a gun in self-defense. And so the story, just from the beginning, and the police there have always said it really just didn't add up to them. They just needed the extra evidence, the time to investigate the digital records. I'm also wondering, Julie, because of the indictment handed down this week against Chad and Lori for the deaths of Lori's children, Tylee and JJ, but also for Tammy Daybell. Co-conspirators for those conspiracy to commit murder charges include Lori, Alex, and Chad. So I'm curious as far as if it's conspiracy to commit murder here of Charles Vallow. There's some overt acts alleged in Fremont County, Idaho that happened around or before the time that Charles Vallow actually passed away. So will this